Hey everyone, welcome back. I am very excited to be reviewing Reva, the third Sister Black Series figure. I was able to get this early from a seller on eBay last week for about $32, which is about what you would pay if you were ordering from Hasbro or somewhere else. I do have the rest of the wave coming later this week from this same seller, so please stay tuned here if you would like to see the rest of this wave reviewed. The way this was packaged, it has a lot of dust on the figure, unfortunately. It even looks like some is there inside the case by her head, but we can see her lightsabers inside. It's cool that we got some different options for the sabers here instead of just one that breaks into two pieces. And never cut towards your hand, ignore what I just did. Let's throw out the user manual and take a look at the figure itself. As you can see, this suffers from the same shiny face that we've seen a lot in the past year in the Black Series, or even before just last year. But nothing a little matte coat can't fix, and we'll get to that at the end of the video. But for now, let's pop the sabers out. I'm going to use a box cutter here to cut the tape so I don't bend the hilt. But let's take a look at the double-bladed saber. This is just one piece, so it avoids any sort of warping and it stays nice and straight. You can see the little peg there on the side, so she can have it displayed on her body. Nothing too surprising here, pretty much the same that we've seen before. These are her alternate sabers. This is obviously a new type of saber that we haven't seen before, but first impressions out of the package, I think this is an incredible figure. The likeness to Moses Ingram is really spot on. You can see the incredible sculpt on the hair here. The way that they kind of faded her scalp to blend into her braids a little bit. And we can see the articulation on the head here. Nothing too surprising, nothing we haven't seen before. The armor is this sort of soft rubber, and it feels like it's a overlay on top of like a hard plastic body underneath. Definitely feels like a softer plastic or rubber, kind of like what we've seen in other figures like shoulder pads and that sort of thing. But let's get her stood up straight, and then looking at the back, she's got this soft goods cape. You guys know I don't like soft goods, but I do make exceptions for capes. I think they're necessary to be soft goods. Nothing too surprising, a pretty thin, cheap feeling piece of fabric. I would love to get a custom cape for this, maybe something wired. I think this will be a really cool upgrade. But for now, it's really not too bad. Articulation at the elbows is really good. You can see it goes well past 90. This will help with a lot of action poses and whatnot, and I'm gonna actually use that to pose her with her lightsaber. Articulation at the knee is about 90, and I've heard some complaints about her feet being really small, but she stood up pretty decently for me. It wasn't too big of an issue. And we've got the normal thigh swivel here as well. Let's get her lightsaber into her hand and get her into our first pose. We're gonna take advantage of that past 90 elbow articulation here to get a nice kind of cross-body stance with the lightsaber and getting her head tilted forward. I think that's pretty decent for now. Now, of course, everyone wants to see how she's going to look with Darth Vader. Let's give him her lightsabers like that scene from Episode 5. This is not the new Kenobi Vader, this is the Empire Strikes Back Vader. But let's get him into place, and here we have this scene here. Let's fix his skirt just a little bit. And I have been excited to get this Reva figure because I did make a diorama recently that you can download the STL files for on my Patreon if you're a 3D printer. The lights pop right in, so you don't have to worry about painting those white parts. And then we've got these moving doors, so we're going to use that as the base of our little scene here. It's based off of the doorway at the Fortress Inquisitorius, and we've got the stormtroopers in place. This is another 3D printed kit I made, so I had trouble storing a lot of the 3D printed parts I had for toy photography, and this is a way to just keep a bunch of pieces, and it only takes up 4 inches by 4 inches by 2 inches. You can see everything just fits into each other here, and then you can just take it apart as you need, and then when you're done, it all stores away very neatly. But I'm gonna pick some kind of more imperial looking crates here. We also have these 2 floor pieces, which also fit right into the kit, and we'll get those put into place right underneath her just to add a little bit more depth to the scene. We'll get everything into place. And then to add a little bit more depth, I do want to bring in this droid from the new Disney Droids pack. I think it looks really cool, and it brings in a lot of those black and red colors that we see at the fortress. I can't wait to get a Purge Trooper in here as well. Hello there. Before we go, I do want to show you guys one more thing that I've been working on. I finished this last week. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi on his Eopie. This is 3D printed from John Walker Customs and a custom Obi-Wan figure. I used the DJ body as a base, and then this is a Marvel Legends cloak. I was really happy with how this came out. I did an airbrushing on the entire creature, and I played with different distances to get different types of skin textures so it looks a little bit more natural. And I use airbrush paint even when I hand paint. That way it kind of gives this more natural feel when it dries and it doesn't look like the paint is caked on. I used a toothbrush to get that gray splatter effect, and I used a pink wash all over the body to make it look a little bit more lifelike. Someone commented that he has 2 reflections in his eyes for the twin suns, and I am pretending that I totally did that on purpose. I do want to show one more thing before we go. Since her face is really shiny, I want to show you what I do to almost every single one of my figures, especially the more recent ones, to get rid of that. So I create this little barber's cape using a paper towel and just get it nice and choked up because we want to keep her armor shiny. I use this Mr. Super Clear matte spray that Frederick's Figures recommended to me. Give it a good shake, give it a good test spray, and then we're just going to quickly spray about 5 times from about 1 foot away. Kind of hit it from all different angles and underneath. And at first it'll look a little bit wet, but within a few seconds it starts to dry. And once we take a look at this under the lights inside, we'll be able to compare it to how it looked before. So I always peel down from the top instead of bringing the linty paper towel over the wet face. But let's take a look at the before and after here. You can see how much of a difference it makes in terms of the shine. The lighting placement is a little different, but this gives you a good idea. I will have a link to that stuff below, as well as everything else that I mentioned. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and I will see you all next time.